evaluator is Trinia, the EVP from Premium Toastmasters. And for her reply to my question, she will never buy large bottles of milk or similar things in the convenience stores because they are too expensive. She can find the cheaper one in other kinds of stores like PX Mart and Carrefour and so on. So let's welcome Trinia.
You did a really wonderful job, and I was blown away by your personal experience because I don't think a lot of us have had anything similar in the past. So I'm going to jump right into my comments. I think you had a really good opening. You opened with a question which immediately connected the audience with you and your speech, and you further used that at the very end of your speech. You asked us the question once more, and you connected with the audience once more. And this also reflected how people changed their thoughts after listening to your speech. So I think that was wonderful. And the second part that I really love about your speech is you had a really, really clear structure. You had an opening, attention grabber, the question, and you mentioned your main point at the very beginning, that you think everyone could be a leader. And then you followed up with two examples of leaders, your father, your story of your father, and then the second example was Bernard, your mentor. And you wrapped up each little section with a comment on what kind of leadership you learned from them. So that was very, very tightly structured and really well done. And then you wrapped up with your conclusion, and you encouraged us by saying that we can all be leaders in our community. So a very, very well-structured speech with personal examples that drew our attention. If I had to give suggestions, there would be two that I would give. The first is the objectives of your project, because if you want to follow strictly with your pathway project, this is the project of researching and presenting. So the objective of researching and presenting is to illustrate, demonstrate that you have done research on a certain topic, on a certain theme, and often with this we might support our points with data or supportive materials. So I would suggest, if you want to follow more strictly with your objectives, you could maybe quote from some famous leaders or people who have offered suggestions on leadership, like Jack Welch or Steve Jobs, or Bill Gates. And because I know you're supporting your evidence with your experience, but with that kind of harder data, it would be even more convincing. And the second part is, the second suggestion I would give is that I find your structure is, the story part of your structure actually allows for a lot of room for good body language and a story-like scenes. That is your strength, and you can play it even more. For example, when your dad, when you saw your dad outside of the internet cafe, you said, "Oh, I saw my dad," and then the next day and the day after. But if you had enough time, maybe you could tell the story, and the next day I saw my dad again, or the next day, and do it again, and that would make people go, "Oh, okay, something happened." So all in all, very well structured and inspiring speech. Just you could add a bit more supporting data and animate your stories with body language. That's all. Thank you.